something strange is happening inside the House of Windsor. The crowds aren't what they used to be. The cheers are getting quieter, and the palace has begun rolling out a series of carefully staged public appearances that look suspiciously like an attempt to salvage what is left of their dignity. What we have watched unfold this week is a portrait of an institution so rattled by its own irrelevance, so battered by scandal, that it has been forced to cosplay competence in public, and poorly. Let's go through all of it. The stench of Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor continues to follow them everywhere they go.
William, have you been covering for Andrew?
They're constantly heckled whenever they set foot outside. Everywhere they go, there are protesters, and they're not there to wave flags. Desperate times calls for desperate measures. Prince William showed up the other day at a restaurant taking phone orders. The future King of England had to briefly moonlight as a call center operator because it's fairly obvious that the crisis manager has been telling them to do more appearances like this, pretending to be like the everyman, that they can do work. But it's just another cynical attempt to take the heat off themselves. The royal family has been trying to curry favor with an increasingly frustrated public concerned about the cost of living, while paying taxes to a moribund and parasitic institution. People are questioning more and more why they should be sustaining these people. The sovereign grant, the annual public payment to the monarchy, stood at £86.3 million for the years 2024 and 25, comprising £51.8 million for core operations and £34.5 million to fund the ongoing Buckingham Palace renovation. For 2025-26, that figure jumps to £132.1 million, a 53% increase, because offshore wind farm profits flowed into the Crown estate and the royals take their percentage right off the top. The Crown estate generated $1.1 billion in net profit, with the monarchy's cut going up. And that is before we even get to the duchy monies. Prince William receives his income separately through the Duchy of Cornwall, a private estate of over 130,000 acres across 23 counties, valued at more than £1 billion. In 2024 to 25, William's surplus from the duchy was £22.9 million. This covers his family's official, charitable, and private expenses, and that's not including all the other nebulous sources of income. However, his tax arrangements remain conveniently undisclosed. Then there are the security costs, which is separate from the sovereign grant. They come from the Home Office via the Metropolitan Police. These figures are not publicly disclosed. However, estimates suggest that they may be well over £100 million annually, that we simply cannot verify. Again, this is separate from the sovereign grant. And let me remind you that this is the same Home Office that provided security for Prince Andrew while he spent time with Jeffrey Epstein at his Manhattan mansion, all courtesy of the British taxpayer. So when the palace sends William out to take pizza orders, forgive the public if they're not entirely convinced. The myth of royalty being above board and morally superior is collapsing in light of Andrew's vile behavior and the fact that they have known all along what was going on, including the late Queen. The fiction of the monarchy as a morally superior institution above the grubby concerns of ordinary life, a symbol of dignity and continuity, is taking a battering from which it may never recover. That tension was visible at the recent Commonwealth Day service. There were more protesters than crowds there to greet them. As the crowd heckled them, calling them parasites, Kate looked around, shocked, as if she had just discovered that she wasn't being fawned upon and universally adored. The BBC had announced it would not be broadcasting the Commonwealth Day service, deciding that the royal family's flagship Commonwealth event was not worth airing. Inside the church, they put on a performance of warmth, pretending that they all liked each other. Kate curtsying like a jack-in-the-box, and William reportedly telling Princess Anne that he is tired of hearing Andrew's name. The message is getting through. The Windsors are rattled, and no amount of crisis managers or photo ops can fix this. No longer are they able to draw the crowds. They're either bussing in care home residents or hapless schoolchildren who have to stand in the rain getting drenched for a photo op of the Princess of Wales playing rock, paper, scissors. In a recent visit to Wales, toddlers were transported to a location in the pouring rain and deployed as props for a photo opportunity for the Prince and Princess of Wales. As a captive audience, they had no choice but to stand there, drenched, because what else were they going to do? At one point, William even tried to pry away Kate's umbrella, but Kate held onto it. Good for her. Because frankly, if you're going to stand in the rain, smiling for the cameras while toddlers are getting drenched, the least you deserve is an umbrella. And if they can't bus the people in, they have to go to where the crowds already are. At the coffee shop visit today, Kate made William a coffee and proudly presented it to him, only for William to reject it, telling her he only drinks decaf and suggesting that she sell it to someone else. Ouch! Folks, this happened in public, on camera, in front of staff, the press, and anyone else who happened to be standing there. Now, two questions arise from this, and neither has a comfortable answer. The first, how is it that after 14 years of marriage and 3 children, Catherine does not know how William likes his coffee? Decaf isn't a complex order. And second, and more to the point, why does William feel the need to constantly go out of his way to humiliate Kate in public? Why couldn't he just take the coffee and pretend to drink it? It is, after all, just a photo op. Why not just take the coffee and keep it moving? Oh no, William relishes in embarrassing Kate and watching her squirm. This man is cruel. This is not a one-off, folks. It's a pattern. Countless small moments of public diminishment that accumulate into something that is very hard to ignore. Pictures from the coffee outing today suggest that he is bottling up a lot of pent-up frustration. He's stuck being miserable in a job that he hates, with a wife that he hates and who he publicly humiliates. Not only did he snap at Kate about the wrong coffee, but he appears to be about to crash out and go postal. And for the younger folks in the audience, if you don't know what going postal means, Go look it up. Meanwhile, the Sussexes announced that they are visiting Australia. This was immediately followed by William issuing a video message from Windsor Castle using the Australian Navy as cover. This is the dynamic now. Harry and Meghan announce something and William reacts because he has no advanced knowledge of what they plan to do. They are beyond his reach, and more crucially, beyond the reach of the press machine that functions as his intelligence service. He is always slightly behind, making lame messages that feel like they were written in a hurry because they were. And suddenly, William is back to threatening to take away titles. And folks, that's all he can do. He has no other power. In fact, he doesn't even have the power to do that, because taking away titles require parliamentary intervention. So all he can really do is make threats. The press, as usual, are criticizing the Sussexes for their visit, suggesting that they're grifters when they aren't taking any money from the taxpayers. Because apparently, in order to spare poor William, they must not do any philanthropic work, no commercial ventures. How dare they try to make a living? God forbid they actually make money. That's too much for William's fragile ego to take, because he cannot bully them like he does the other family members who are still attached to the royal umbilical cord, curtsying for their daily bread and having to prostrate themselves as if their lives depend on it. And now there are reports that Harry and Meghan may produce a documentary about the late Princess Diana. And surprise, that seems to have upset William, because in his mind, he owns everything. In Prince Harry's Spare, Harry mentions where William once declared, and I quote, "Africa, rhinos, that's my thing." For William, Diana belongs to him. Never mind that he throws her under the bus every chance he gets, calling her paranoid and sidling up to Camilla. And if Harry and Meghan actually end up making a film about Diana, it might just be the thing that takes him over the edge, if he hasn't gone over there already. Carol Middleton was photographed at the races today, wearing one of Kate's hats, sidling up to Princess Anne and MAGA Mike Tyndall, and carrying a Birkin bag reportedly worth £50,000. Camilla did not look amused. And folks, what a social climbing piece of work this woman is. Doesn't she still owe a bunch of creditors that she bailed on after liquidating her Party Pieces company? A company that was probably never even a profitable business to begin with, if we're being honest. When Party Pieces went into administration in 2023, it owed creditors approximately £2.6 million. That figure includes over £600,000 owed to His Majesty's Revenue and Customs, over £200,000 owed to the Royal Bank of Scotland for a coronavirus business interruption loan, and over £20,000 owed to an Afghan refugee who supplied helium to the company for their party balloons. The insolvency firm hired to manage the collapse was itself owed over $300,000 for its services, which the Middletons paid only $64,000. Carol had reportedly given personal assurances to creditors that the debts would be repaid in full. Then she stopped answering the phone. And folks, do you know that to this day, she still owes the bakery for the cake for William and Kate's wedding? People in their village were so outraged with them flaunting their fleeced wealth in a house they probably can't even afford that they actually put up flyers about them. Now, I've talked about that before in a couple of videos. Now you see why Kate had to come back into this clearly abusive relationship. Because if William will treat her like this in public, you can only imagine what he's done in private. And I just want to say one last thing about that. I don't care for Kate Middleton as a person. I think she has done her part to contribute to the misery of others, including her own misery. But it is awful seeing how he treats her. And I wonder if she doesn't realize that she could actually do much better than this guy. We all know what Kate wants. She wants a cushy life where she doesn't need to do any stupid work, turning up to these places, grinning like a maniac, and pretending to like being around these people. She wants to be a trad wife, a pampered and kept woman. Kate longs for the life her sister has, or Rose Hanbury. They don't have to worry about court circulars demanding they do engagements to justify why Britain, a nation where citizens are struggling to keep the heat on, has to dole out money to protect child molesters. It's no wonder everywhere they go, they're either being heckled or ignored. So tell me what you think, folks. Do you think Kate could find some rich guy to take her away? I think she could. He might even adore her. But oh no, not when there are titles to be had. And of course, the ultimate prize. Because I think Carol is the driving force behind Kate continuing to remain in this miserable and loveless marriage. She was so elated today. The look on her face said it all. She's arrived, and she's willing to do anything to keep up appearances, even if it's at the expense of her own daughter. So let me know what you think. Drop a comment below. I read them all. And I've also heard you loud and clear. You like the longer videos. So I'm working on something special next. A new video with a movie reference. I haven't done one of those in a while. And I think you're going to enjoy it. So stay tuned. Love you all.